So my name is Mustafa Said. I am a mentor, an independent researcher, and a development practitioner. I have also joined the trend of content creation of late. I have been making content around how to secure scholarships at elite universities globally, especially in Europe and North America. But that is just an entry point. So I hope to launch young people, my followers, into a wider world of what happens internationally. The aim is to ensure that young people in Nigeria, especially in northern Nigeria, are able to key into global developments currently happening. As much as events are happening in the world, and sometimes we pick a few trends, sometimes we just need to align. Like it's the power of economics at times. We all buy online, we all buy stuff online. So sometimes, if we are buying online, then what can we also sell online? For example, I think for me that is where I saw the need for me to come in, that there is actually value in this, that young people need to find an entry point into this developing world of technology and to be able to find opportunities for themselves, because we have all been born into a country that is a little bit difficult and complicated at the moment, but it's not insurmountable actually. And I think with the power of education, with the power of knowledge and connection, I think we'll be able to transcend some of these problems. So at the moment, what I'm trying to do is essentially two things to formalize my effort. On the one hand, I am working on a private consultancy to help advise young people, not just young people, but entities that want to set some vision that is global. That is what my private consultancy would be doing. But on the other hand, in a much more ambitious attempt, and something I am probably more passionate about, is working on a think tank. I think a few people here have already shared that idea with. I am currently trying to work on a think tank that would brainstorm some of the problems we have. We already know these problems, but the nature of these problems, it requires some full-time work to gauge. Yeah, we all know that, for example, there is a problem of corruption in Nigeria, but how does the corruption happen? How do we all enable it? Most of the time when problems happen, as someone who grew up speaking Hausa is my first language. Da abin da zan faɗa sai na tuna shi da Hausa a raina. Baki na fassarawa kawai ke, I still think in Hausa. Although raina ya ɓaci, I speak English. I don't know why. Yeah. So so I I have talked about this initiative with a couple of people. We need to understand the nature of the problem. Sometimes we know them in a generic way, but we don't understand how they happen or how they manifest. And that is what I hope that my think tank will be doing. And my hope is that we are going to be able to look at issues not just in northern Nigeria, but the wider Sahel. Most of the time, there is this problem. Not a problem, but it's an issue. It's common practice. We often over essentialize our situation or our plight in Nigeria. This Nigeria, this country, blah blah blah, this country. In all honesty, there are a couple of things that happen in Nigeria and they happen in other places as well. I'm not trying to defend any mediocrity in Nigeria, but there are certain things that happen in Nigeria and they happen elsewhere. But all I'm trying to say is that some of our problems, they are faced elsewhere. Although I understand that in Nigeria they take a different turn, and apparently some of these problems, as much as other societies also face them, if we don't kill some of the problems in Nigeria, they might eventually kill a lot of us. And that's why we have to rise to change the narrative. And Akode Osheni, I always advocate for. I think I'm obsessed with academia. Taught at I've never taught at any higher institution, but to an extent, I think I so much believe in the promise of higher education, in the promise of critical thinking, to understand problems and to be able to come up with responses. I wouldn't call them solutions, because even solutions keep on evolving. So responses that would to a very large extent address the problems. Of course, even if you come up with a solution, tomorrow it's going to be different. There were times when if you knew how to type, you are a hot cake. Every organization will be looking for you. But then we don't have typists any longer. Although one political economist made a remark that she was working as a typewriter at some point, and then when she was trying to get into a PhD program, she said when she started the PhD, because it was a qualitative research that she was doing, Elena Armstrong, you probably know about her. She said that her typing skills have helped her in taking notes when she was conducting either interviews or focus group discussions. But that is that, and it just tells you about how much I'm obsessed about education of late. I think it's powerful. A couple of people have challenged why I always encourage or nudge people to go to those top universities. And as much as they could have valid reasons, I am coming from the area of ability to scale quality. A lot of us went to universities in Nigeria, and a lot of us are doing well with the education in Nigeria. However, it's not the same for a lot of people. Whether our universities have been able to perform or not, they have not been able to do it at scale. Yes, they produce stars here and there are pockets of stars, but they are unable to like do it in a in a scalable way. And that is why I believe that if we have more people at scale getting some sort of training of good quality, they could actually come back and cascade down that quality, which we could then leverage on to build the kind of country that we want. I think that is how I'm going to summarize my points. Like I told you, being brief is a skill.